It can be frustrating trying to figure out the particular thing you want to learn and it becomes so difficult. This situation can become worse when you discover that the more you learn, the more you get confused, and at this point you get tired. If you seem to learn a little bit but then you fail to remember anything you are trying to read at that point, then the situation becomes worse. And right here onto this video, I'll be showing you exactly how you can learn faster and be able to remember for a very long time, which will bring out the genius in you. I'm Abayomi, and right here on this channel, I drop in tips and strategies that can help you learn and make you perform better in your academics. And if that sounds like something you are interested in, please consider subscribing to my channel right now. There are several steps you should take in order for you to be able to learn faster and be able to remember anything you study. The first thing is to build up interest. The second thing is to discover how exactly you learn. The third thing is to build up foundational knowledge on whatever you are trying to learn. And the fourth thing is to associate. Now, I'll be taking this one by one as I'll be explaining along. The first thing I'll be talking about is build up interest. And when I'm talking about interest, there are certain things you need to take into consideration. The first thing is your attitude, and the second thing is your emotions. Now, your attitude towards whatever you are studying is very important. It is your attitude towards it that will determine whether you actually learn what you want to learn. And if your attitude towards something you are trying to learn is not that good, then there's a high possibility that you will not pay attention to what you are learning. You won't even learn at all. Another thing is to take care of your emotions, because your emotion towards a particular thing that you want to learn determines the outcome of your learning. If you are curious about a particular thing you want to learn and you feel good towards it, you definitely learn it faster. If you are afraid of whatever you are trying to learn, then you won't even learn it at all. So the first thing you should take into consideration is your attitude towards what you are learning and the emotions towards what you are learning, because have positive emotions towards what you are learning and build up good attitude towards it. And the only thing that can make you build up positive emotions towards what you are learning and build up good attitude is to have value for whatever you are trying to learn. Because if you have value for it, then you'll feel good while you are learning it, and your attitude towards it will be great. And as a result of that, you will learn faster and you'll be able to remember whatever you studied in a long time. Now, the next thing you need to take into consideration if you really want to learn faster and remember in a long time is to discover how exactly you learn. Now, there are studies about learning style that talks about several learning styles. We have kinesthetic learners, we have visual learners, we have auditory learners, we have learners that learn through reading and writing. There are learners that have combinations of learning styles. And if you actually discover how exactly you learn, you'll be able to know how you can approach anything you want to learn, and you'll be able to learn it faster. You build up how exactly you learn a particular thing from your past experiences. So you have to discover that very carefully, and if you know exactly how you learn, you'll be able to learn faster and you'll be able to remember faster. And that is very, very important for you to note. Another thing you need to take into consideration is to build up foundational knowledge for whatever you are trying to learn. Take, for example, if you want to learn mathematics, you don't know the rudimentaries, and you want to learn something in a complex class, it becomes difficult. So if you really want to learn faster and easier, try to go back to the foundation, discover how you learn, build up interest, and if you do that, you'll be able to learn the more complex ones and you learn faster. So take care of the foundational knowledge very well in order for you to learn faster. It is very, very important. Another thing you need to take into consideration while learning is to associate what you've learned now to the previous time. The best way your brain learns faster is to associate. At any point in time when you are learning and you cannot associate what you are learning now to what you learned before, then just know that you are not actually learning anything. The association that exists in your brain sets down a clue for your brain in order for you to remember faster and be able to learn faster again. When you are reading, reflect on what you are reading and associate it to what you already know before. If you cannot associate what you are reading now to what you already know before, it is important to sort out experiences and relevant resources that can help you understand what you are trying to learn, and you'll be able to learn faster, and also you'll be able to remember faster. It is very, very important. Having pointed out several steps you need to take in order for you to learn faster and remember for a long time, there's another thing I need to point out in order for you to remember for a long time. And before you can know how to remember for a long time, I would like to share a bit of knowledge on how the brain works for you. Now, we have what we call the long-term memory and the short-term memory. The short-term memory is regarded as the working memory. In order for you to be able to remember anything at a long time, it is important for you to transfer what is in the short time your memory to the long time memory. And that is the steps that I'll be showing you right now. How to transfer what you are learning in the short time memory that is in the short time memory to the long time memory. And that is the only way you can remember for a long time and you have long lasting retention. Now, in order for you to transfer what you are learning now from the short time memory to the long time memory, imagine a situation whereby you pick up a book at the first instance. You give it the first touch, which is you skim through. You slow read by reflecting on what you are reading and try to associate it to what you've learned before. The third time while you are reading it, that's when you go through the fast reading. And while you are doing this, you engage in spaced repetition, go through it the next day and the following day and the following day and the following day. But the more you repeat what you are learning, the more it tends to transfer from the short-term memory to the long-term memory. The neuron for that particular knowledge solidifies in your brain, then it becomes hardwired in your brain and you not forget anymore. According to neurologists, you learn by making connections in your brain. And when you make a certain connection in your brain while you are trying to learn a particular thing for the first time, that connection is very vulnerable and can prune apart at the initial point. In order for you to strengthen that connection, you need to revisit what you are reading over and over and over again. Nerve cells that wire together fire together. So if you keep firing those neural connections over and over again, it becomes solidified. There's a very low tendency that you forget whatever you are studying. So anything you repeat over and over again gets solidified in your brain, tend to remember in the long time memory. Another thing you need to take into consideration is to sleep. Now, sleep helps in consolidation of memory. When you read a particular thing at the first instance and you feel to sleep, there's a very high tendency that you forget that thing that you are reading. So it is important to sleep when you are studying, because when you do this, memory consolidation happens, and that is when what you are reading transfers from the short-time memory to the long-time memory, and you'll be able to remember in the long time. It is very important. Another thing you need to take into consideration in order for you to solidify what you are reading now and be able to remember in the long time is to engage in testing. Test yourself anytime you read, because when you test yourself, it serves as a form of feedback and it strengthens the neural connection in your brain that has that knowledge. So if you keep testing and you keep recalling what you read, then what you are reading tends to be solidified in your brain, and there's a very low tendency that you will forget. It is very important. Another thing you need to take into consideration is visualization. Visualization is more like recalling in a way. It's just not spelling it out. You tend to visualize it in your brain. It's just, I call it mental rehearsal. When you read something, I do it a lot when I was in the university. When you read something, try to work around and visualize it in your brain, rehearse it in your brain without even saying it out. The more you do this, the more the information becomes solidified. Another thing you need to take into consideration in order for you to remember whatever you study in a long time is active engagement. Now, when I talk about active engagement, there are several things you need to take into consideration. When you are studying something, try to take notes while you are studying, because when you take notes, you are actively engaging your brain. At that point, you are reflecting on what you are reading and you are connecting it to what you already knew before, and there's a very high tendency that you remember in the long run. Another thing you need to take into consideration that has to do with active engagement: when you study something at first, try to teach someone else and teach and explain what you read to someone else. If you can do that perfectly, then there's a very high tendency that you will not forget. It is very important to do this. Teach it to someone else. When you teach it to someone else, you will never forget. It is very important. I do it a lot of times and it has worked for me a whole lot of time. So if you follow these steps through, you'll be able to learn faster and be able to remember whatever you are reading at any point in time. If you got so much value from this video, please smash the like button and also subscribe to the channel. And also check out this other video on how you can remember whatever you study easily. So thank you so much for watching and see you on the next one.